the huge hole of not having Brandon Lowe in the lineup and guys that you expect to be more productive, like Chris Morel, just not happening.
Taylor Walls, he has given himself no margin of error. Because your bat is so light, you cannot miss a play with the glove, because that's why you're in there. So
you are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Captain Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
We're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
So grab your favorite Rays gear and settle in as we discuss a very unfortunate weekend for the Rays against the Cincinnati Reds, what it means, what are the impacts of it, and how will this affect what the Rays decide to do or not do at the trade deadline. I think we might need to have a come to Jesus moment with the Rays, if you will.
Yes, we do have to do that. But before we get to all of that, I got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Kevin, if the people that are listening to this only, got to tell you, we're having some fun here in YouTube where you can just hit that like button, you can subscribe, and you can get some nice existentialist memes.
Yes.
With a bass theme on top of them. And boy, do we need those right now.
Memes and graphics indicating how sucky the Rays are. Now they are exactly mid, 53 and 53. And been a very rough month of July, I believe 7 and 18. And again, I think we went in pretty clear about our expectations and didn't have very high expectations against the Reds on the road. But that didn't necessarily mean the Rays would or should get swept. I was hoping for maybe 1 W, and instead we got 3 L's, as the Rays lost on Friday 7-2. They lost Saturday 6-2. And then Sunday 2-1. Hey, maybe it should have been a 4-game series, because it seemed like we were inching a little bit closer to a victory. Of course, in order for the Rays to win a game against the Reds, you got to hold the Reds to, 0 runs or 1 run in order to make that happen. But just really disappointing, because I feel like on Friday and Saturday, really every one of these games was with
right there.
Like Friday up to the 6th inning.
Yep.
Saturday up to the 7th inning. And then, I think the Rays were down early on Sunday. But, they were in it the whole time, thanks to Shane Baz, but they just cannot pull it out at the end of the day. Those, last 3 innings of opportunities and outs just cannot capitalize, and just letting the Reds run wild, particularly on Friday and Saturday.
Everything that is Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. And it's exactly what it's been since that Kansas City Royals sweep in Kansas City. Boy, we were riding high, guys. Remember that? Kansas City, we sweep them. We're like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to be buyers. Oh, man, this is going to be great. And then it has all come tumbling down. And on this weekend, Murphy's Law happened again. You can't have a guy like Taylor Walls missed that ground out. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, that is a play, Taylor Walls with 2 hands behind his back, and he can make that play. And on that particular, boom, just whiffed like I've never seen him whiff before. It's just kind of this conglomeration of little things that, bottle up. And now we're at the stage where this is a 53 and 53 team that is really buoyed. I think it's the right word there. It's buoyed by a 25-9 run that they're 53-53. And I'm not saying take the 25-9 out, who they are. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they were 25-9 for a really good stretch, and we really like that. But they were also 28-44 when they were not that hot.
Yeah.
They're not as good as a 25-9. They're not as bad as 28-44. But if you had green Skittles, which bucket would you put that they kind of look like more?
Yeah.
The 25-9 or the 28-44? I think on this podcast, we're very clearly saying they look more like a 28-44 team.
Right. And probably more in the middle at the end of the day.
Sure.
And it is really tough when you don't have Brandon Lowe. It is really tough when you don't have Shane McClanahan. It is really tough when the moment you get Ha-Seong Kim, he goes back on the shelf. It's really tough when you find out that Manny Rodriguez is headed for elbow surgery. It gets really tough when Brian Baker, and I know that he struggled in a Rays uniform, he strained his calf. So it's like it's not just the losing, it's the injuries on top of it. And very uncharacteristic mistakes, like an error by Taylor Walls, a catastrophic error, which to Walls' credit, he actually has been doing a little bit more offensively. I believe 12 of his last 14 games, he's found a way to get on base. He did have a home run over the weekend and had an RBI over the weekend separately. I think it was a double. It was a base hit. He's at least contributing bits and pieces offensively, but it's certainly not enough to make up for the huge hole of not having Brandon Lowe in the lineup and guys that you expect to be more productive, like Chris Morel, just not happening.
He has given himself, Taylor Walls, no margin of error. Because your bat is so light, you're giving yourself no margin of error that you cannot miss a play with the glove, because that's why you're in there. So that's why it hurts really badly when there's a tied ball game. There's 2 outs, 2 men on scoring position, and they both get in. Then that was the game. That was the game. After that error, then you're done. So yeah, he's given himself no margin of error. And Christopher Morel, I'm at the point where
you'll take a bag of peanuts for him.
I'm at the point where I'm pretty sure that he's there just because they like what Junior is doing and they don't want to upset Junior right now.
So it's they have a Dominican friendship clubhouse chemistry thing going on.
They're like, we can't. The guy was a home run derby. He's 22. Yeah. We don't know how that's going to affect him. If we want to go places, we need Junior to be at his absolute best. And what happens if we take that away? I think that that's what's been happening, and that's why we saw for a whole month basically 2 starts by Christopher Morel in back-to-back games. Like, that's a guy that's not in your plans, but then why is he? I have to find a reason why. It ain't pop.
Right.
It ain't pop. It ain't highlight gold glove defense. So what is it? I have to go to the human side of it. And they've been very close. And Junior has remarked several times really has appreciated having Christopher Morel in that dugout.
Well, that's, there's something to be said for that, because the Rays, even through their struggles, have talked about how much this team jives together one way or the other. So, there is a question of, are you willing to upset that or mess that up? It kind of gives me an analogy of, you have a great high school football or basketball player, like a 5-star athlete, and the college that recruits him says, yeah, we don't want to give up a scholarship on your friend or your sibling here, but we'll do it just to get you. It's kind of like, we'll appease Junior Caminero for the time being, but long term, I don't think that is something that the Rays can manage. They need to find another friend for Junior Caminero, or hire Nelson Cruz as a hitting coach, perhaps. Find something, find his go-to man that doesn't necessarily have to be a player. Bring a part his entourage or posse to make it happen. But
I got a great just get Chandler Simpson some Spanish lessons over the winter. Get him over there, play Dominican ball with Junior, and then by next year, boom, they're besties.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we have much more to discuss on this episode of Locked On Rays, but first we have to tell the audience something very important that is next on the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning that big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, it's more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. We all like that, right? So go ahead, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
All right, Ulysses, before we move on, any bows that you want to tie up on the unfortunate series against the Reds as it was?
No, let's get the heck away from Cincinnati talk, because I feel like for the next two segments, we really need to have like a State of the Union talk about this team. And look, this team is not buying anything. It ain't. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. It shouldn't buy anything. The
conspiracy theory to that I've seen floated about, if I'm going to be in my Canadian accent, floated about.
I like it.
Sneak that in there. The Rays aren't moving to Montreal, as far as I know, even with the new ownership. But Stu Sternberg, maybe a swan song walk-off for him before he leaves the organization is, hey, let's try to do what we can to, get this team into the playoffs and see what happens. Not saying they'd be major buyers, but get something here and there. I don't really buy it, but that's been floated about.
It has been floated, bandied, as some people would say, bandied about. Look, sure. And if that means, getting a Chad Qualls 2010 version, all right, we'll clap and pretend it's cool. But
we do need relief help.
I think the best situation here is stand still. If you want to have like auxiliary moves here and there, if that's a trading Christopher Morel, fine. If that's getting a little bit of bullpen help, fine. If that is indeed not paying $10 million next year to Pete Fairbanks and getting something right of value for him, sure, I'm all good. But trading Yandy Diaz, trading Brandon Lowe is essentially a death sentence on the encouragement for any Rays fan for this season. Like you've had, I believe to this count, 9 non-sellout crowds in Tampa. That number is going to double by the end of the season if you trade Brandon Lowe and Yandy Diaz. It just you can't do that. You can't do that, especially in a year in back-to-back where you expelled 3 All-Stars in Jason Adam, Randy Arozarena, and Isaac Paredes. Right. After that fire sale, which included way more players, including Zach Eflin, the next year you're going to get rid of your only batting title champ and fan favorite in Yandy Diaz. You're going to trade away your 2-time All-Star. How many Rays have been 2-time All-Stars? Not that many people.
No. So
to do that is essentially saying, don't come to the ballpark. Don't spend your money on us. So I think the best, more rational thing to do is do the auxiliary parts, Pete Fairbanks if you must, Morel if you'd like, and that's it.
So essentially keeping the offensive core in place for 2026 because, without Yandy, without Brandon Lowe, assuming, which I would guesstimate that with all that Ha-Seong Kim has been going through, that he is going to accept that player option. He wants the $17 million. I don't know. This is definitely the worst time to go into free agency if you're a player like him, because these guys, I mean, I know we've talked about Yandy's age and we've talked about Brandon Lowe's injury history, and, you know, he's starting to get up there in years as well. They still have enough left in the tank, not just probably for 2026, but 2027 and beyond. And, you know, if you trade one or more of those guys, I don't know where you're going to find the offense in 2026, unless there's a magic bullet that we don't know, unless they're playing 3D chess and they think there's something in the pipeline that can step up. I mean, we can talk about prospects until we're blue in the face, but can we really bank on Xavier Isaac and Carson Williams and Dom Keegan to step in and be immediate contributors right away? Let's remember, Junior Caminero is a unicorn. Wander Franco was a unicorn. Those guys, that's like once every 5 years.
Even Junior is not Junior until this year. Let's remember, folks, he made his debut 2 years ago. So it takes a while. And I can answer that question about Morgan, Isaac, and Keegan and Williams with my own thing. Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, do we remember how we thought about them in 2021?
Mm-hmm.
I do. I got the gray hairs, and I know you guys do too. You can't bank on that. You can't bank on that. Taylor Walls had a 120 WRC plus in the minor leagues. People forget. Pepperidge Farms doesn't, and I don't. So I feel like if you do this, you'd be essentially Kevin. How many games has Brandon Lowe played? 2 games since I think the week before All-Star break, something like that.
Yep. We're missing them. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, right? Okay. Well, in that case, if he's played like only 2 of their last like 16 games, and he could come back this Wednesday, 2 of their last 16 games, show me the offensive numbers of that team.
Yeah.
And it's not like he drives the offense. He can. He's a guy who can put the team on his back and carry it for a while. Of course he does. But it's what he provides to the lineup within the construction of it. The people in front, the people behind, the fact that you have to be a little bit more careful with a lefty that has 40 homer power. Right. If you're a pitcher, you just have to. So then it's just the intricacies and the intangibles that he provides to a lineup that really help. We've seen what happens. So you're telling me that that's not sample size enough to tell you what happens when Bilal is not on the lineup? We've seen it year in, year out. It's not a good lineup when Bilal is out.
And again, like if you're expecting big things from Curtis Mead, Johnny DeLuca, Richie Palacios in terms of power, I have a bridge to sell you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because those guys aren't going to be all 3 of those guys might add up to what Brandon Lowe could provide over 3/4 of this season. In fact, I think Brandon Lowe is still second in homers on the team behind Junior Caminero. Yandy Diaz is inching closer at 18th, which golf clap to him for as well as he's done through all this. More oppo power is what we like from Yandy Diaz. But yeah, I think that when Brandon Lowe is not in the lineup, and Kevin Cash and others have mentioned it, the entire team more or less gets pitched differently. It's a totally different dynamic.
And then you're telling me that you are also going to take out Yandy Diaz?
Yeah.
This team has nothing to do in the playoffs if you get rid of Yandy Diaz and or Brandon Lowe. They have nothing to do. Status quo, they could still surprise us. Wouldn't put a lot of green Skittles on it, but they could still surprise us. Without these 2 guys or one of them, forget about it. Watching the games, it'll just become a chore rather than a want.
Yes. We have more to discuss on this episode, but first we have to tell the audience something very important that is next on the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hue, and that is the hat that both Ulysses and I are wearing right now. For Rays fans like me and you and everybody else, this hat hits the mark. Game Day Hue They make clean, no logo gear with team inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. None of those giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. And in addition to hats, I love a good hat on the golf course, but what I like even more on the golf course is gloves, golf gloves. And Game Day Hue has this. It is not just hats. They also have their split shade gloves made for the golf course, which is also the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. I actually have not used this golf glove yet because I admire the look and the color and the leather. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to get dirt on it. I just want to savor it, if you will. But I will try it out probably this weekend, actually. And you should too. Get the hats, get the gloves, get everything they have to offer. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDay, HUE.com. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15.
All right, Ulises, back at it. I mean, all hope isn't lost. The Rays do have quite a bit of work to do. They are 10 games out of first place in the American League East and 3.5 games back of the third AL wildcard spot. So we can pretty much kiss the division goodbye. And now we're fighting for that wildcard spot, which, again, you get in, anything can happen. Of course, you want a division title and you want the bye and you want all the accoutrements that come with that. But I don't think we're at the point or luxury to be able to deal with that. Now, what's interesting about the trade situation and the deadline coming up on us very quickly, I believe July 31st. 31st. Somebody made a typo here. I think it was Mark Topkin. Coming up this week, I'll say.
There you go.
Thursday's deadline. There we go. You know, Eric Neander has made a lot of trades at the deadline. Like, I think the average is 6 trades. So I feel like there is going to be a lot of action, but maybe like you suggested, action of auxiliary parts and bit pieces and 40-man roster sludge, not necessarily the key players, except for maybe a couple of pitchers. Like, I could see Zach Littell going. I could see Pete Fairbanks going. I could see guys like that going. But I think unless you are given, a gold plate on a silver platter, you have to view Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lowe as untouchable at this point.
Especially now, knowing that you are going to go back to Tropicana Field next year.
Yes.
So, I mean, that should also be in your plan, on your execution plan, which they didn't have last year, right? They didn't know that a hurricane was happening, and they could have really used a guy with the power like Isaac Paredes did, right? You know, or Randy Arozarena in that small ballpark. Like, they could have used that, but they didn't know. But now they do know. They know, hey, this is only temporary. We're going back to Tropicana Field next year. Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lowe are essential to a lineup that already is weak, but is going to a pitcher's park already. You have 2 veterans there that know how to hit there. To take them out would be just horrible. And if you commit the same thing that you did with Randy Arozarena, for example, I won't say Isaac Paredes because that was for Christopher Morel, and we know how Morel worked out. Not great. But to trade guys like Brandon Lowe and Yandy Diaz for not major league talent ready guys, for, like, if you're trading Glasnow and you get Pepio, fine.
Okay, yeah.
Let's work it out. We got it. We're fine. We can do that. But if you're trading Brandon Lowe and Yandy Diaz for guys that are like high A, double A, but look at the stuff plus.
Right.
Look under the hood, man. Can you see that Savant piece real red? My God.
Wait till they see a major league curveball. Then they run into trouble.
Exactly. I mean, it's not that
so, and I just thought of this off the rip. What about something, because I don't know how much it's going to matter between now and the rest of the season, but you want to try to get payroll off the roster. So that brings up Pete Fairbanks and Zach Littell. That's, what their future, like, sure. I think Fairbanks is due like $10 million next
10
season.
million next year, and I think Littell just got paid 5 or 6 this year.
Yeah, and then he'll be a free agent. So, and with Joe Boyle and Shane McClanahan and the interrelations of that, yeah, exactly. Some combination of a starting pitcher and Fairbanks for a host of relievers. Just give us like 3 or 4 relievers, and hopefully we can find somebody that works it out. Because I got jealous over the weekend seeing the Reds and seeing Emilio Pagan. Like, blast from the past with Emilio Pagan. He was so good with the Rays, and then he struggled mightily in his next stop. Where did he go? San Diego? Padres. So he was delivering like 4.5, 4.8 ERAs, just not the same player as he was in a Rays uniform. And now with the Reds, he's like one of the best closers or finishers in baseball. I mean, we saw it, I think, all 3 games.
Yeah.
Reds, and you look at his ERA and look at how many saves he has, and that just goes to show you. I mean, the volatility of relievers. Some guys, they have a couple bad years and they have a great one. They've got a bad year then a good one, a bad year then a good one, or you can just never know and never tell. But I think they really have to address what they're going to do with the bullpen, especially with Manny Rodriguez out for the count. Brian Baker, I don't see him necessarily as a long-term piece unless the Rays can fix him in the offseason. But I think you just got to try to bulk up on relievers. And then I know this might be more of a long-term thing, but who is going to be your catcher of the future? Because Danny Jansen has an expiration date on him. Matt Thaiss, okay, he's good for half a season, a full season, but you need to find that next stalwart, which is something the Rays have, spent near 3 decades trying to figure out. So I think those are a couple of key objectives right there. And I know it's a lot to ask without giving up Yandy or Bilal, but I feel like those are some of the parts that have to be resolved.
Again, the biggest problem usually has been offense, right? Yes, the bullpen is a big concern this year. And so I would be okay with the return being major league options for the bullpen that can step in and do the job. Pete Fairbanks, Zach Littell. I feel like you're right. These are pieces that I would be okay with letting go, because I understand the mechanism of it. Understanding the mechanism of Brandon Lowe would net some interesting pieces. I understand that. Yandy Diaz, same thing. Of course we would get them. But it's what they're the abyss of these players, the lack of these players. Now you actually create another problem. You've created a big problem. So I don't think that trading Fairbanks or Littell would create a problem. I think that's why you have depth in those situations. You don't have depth with your bats. You clearly do not. You've never had depth except for 2023 for half of the season, 2021 for the majority of the season, and possibly 2010. That's it, guys. It's you can count them with your fingers. So, I think if you're talking podium, I guess we do agree on Littell and Fairbanks as players that we see are likely to get traded, and we would be okay with them getting traded. Who's that third guy?
Well, I mean, I would say Chris Morel, but based on what you said about the relationship with Caminero, that might not be as likely. I'm open-ended, really, outside of, the big pieces there. I would be welcome to any type of deal, really, that doesn't involve those two, that doesn't involve Caminero or Simpson, or, some of the other starting pitchers. Like, heck, if we even want to kick the tires on Taj Bradley, but then your pitching depth, your starting pitching depth might take a little bit of a nosedive there as well if you decided to off 2 starters like Littell and Bradley are.
I think Caballero could be that third guy.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Caballero. I'm
ultimately,
totally
yes, it would hurt a little bit because he's a fun player and he's so adaptable to so many positions and he's incredibly valuable. But I think a playoff team, that's not the Rays, would be very keen on getting a guy that can play you third, short, second, first, right field, left field, center field. Like he's an incredibly valuable guy, and he gives you a 680 OPS.
Yeah, the dynamic with the speed, and then he's a gamer. He plays hard. He gives effort. He does what's asked of him. And I mean, I think you're eventually going to need a middle infield spot with Kim and then Carson Williams and, some of the other guys. Like, I don't think the Rays are trading Taylor Walls. They love Taylor Walls too much. So I think Caballero is kind of that obvious name to throw out there. And he's been getting a lot of love in the trade rumor circle. And I mean, if we're being frank, it's not like when the Rays acquired Caballero, they didn't necessarily see him as like, hey, he's going to be a cornerstone for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. It was like, let's acquire him till we figure out what's going on with this Wander Franco mess. And then we also have Carson Williams and some other prospects percolating in the minors. Maybe we can work it out where he's here with us for a year or two. And I think that's ultimately the case that might come about there. So,
yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, there it is. It's unfortunate and doesn't get easier. The Rays have a 4-game series against the Yankees. So
who have been struggling, who basically avoided getting swept this weekend against the Phillies. But yeah, man, it's going to be tough these next 4 games for our mental health. And by the way, guys, just a little PSA here. This team does you don't owe this team your full attention at 53 and 53. No. You don't. If there are other things you need to do, but you really like to watch baseball, put it in the background. Don't let your 3 hours in the evening after work, or just fully engage in it. Just take a little break here and there, because 53 and 53 is rough to put your 100% in it.
Yeah. Like if you turn on the TV and see Kevin Kelly on the mound, turn it off, because that means that it's mop-up duty time. The Rays don't feel they're winning this game. They're not winning this game. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of the case against the Reds. Like, turn it on for the first couple innings, I guess. And then, once the later innings happen and you have to rely on your bullpen or the starting pitcher the third time through the order, things are going to go awry.
I muted it after the Walls error. I just went, all right, we're done with the audio here, and we're going to mute you.
Go into Netflix or Hulu or your streaming device of choice. All right. On that note, we hope you all have a wonderful day, and we thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Local analysis brought to you on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on the YouTubes or wherever you listen to those podcasts.